Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up. Man, let's just get it like this. Welcome back to Gunners Collective TV. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like and subscribe. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun is kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel. It's all because of you. For that, I could say I'm very humbled, right? So I did a video earlier today about the rapper, the slain rapper, SUCKAFREE 104, right? And, you know, I started talking to a few people, looking at a few things, and there's an update in the situation. There's an update in the situation. I mean, you can call it an update. You know, for those of you that didn't watch the first video, make sure you tap in. I'm going to reiterate just a little bit on it. You know, he was found dead at 4:15 a.m. yesterday morning. You know, a casualty. He's a casualty, man. And at first, when I first heard the story, I was pretty upset. I was upset with the fact that he let people know his location, that he was on Instagram Live, telling people where he was at and what he was doing. He was actually hitting up, spray painting an area. And I was under the assumption, you know, some enemies felt, you know, some type of way. They realized or recognized where he was at because he was putting it out there, and they pulled up. They showed up and they showed out. You know, he was found, he was posting at 4 o'clock in the morning. He was found dead by 4:15. So it kind of like the puzzle pieces kind of fit. But his uncle took to social media to talk about, you know, because everybody's talking about how it happened, why it happened, you know, who were his enemies, who did this, who could have done it. First and foremost, anyone could have done it. Anybody could have did it. And when there's an active, ongoing investigation, it's not up to us to make assumptions or to point fingers or say this guy did it or them guys did it or these guys, you could have done it, because you could find yourself in a situation where you're having to take a stand. You're having to point some fingers in a direction that you weren't even fucking involved in, you know? Nobody knows exactly who killed this man, but the people who did it and the cockroaches that were in the vicinity looking for food. That's it. He's not here to tell a story of what ultimately happened. So for all the people playing Inspector Gadget and Detective, you know, it's cool to kind of want to know how his life ended and why come, how come. But at the end of the day, man, we'll never know the true story. The story goes with him. And of course, the shooter. So anyways, SUCKAFREE 104's uncle took to social media and he had a lot to say. And one of the things he said was that it actually was a shootout. Now, again, these are his words, not mine, that it was a shootout and an argument between him and his own homies from LENNOX 13. And that's why he got. That's what happened to him. Now, of course, it's called the blame game. You know, blaming people, pointing fingers in the direction of, hey, it was his own homeboys that got him. And it led me to think about a lot of things. First, I want to say this. I don't know if that's the case. That's what's being put out there. That's what people are saying. Of course, we need to understand and recognize, man, that law enforcement is doing their best, their due diligence to try to find out and figure out what actually happened, piece the puzzle together. But again, man, it's not up for us as supporters of SUCKAFREE 104 or anyone to assume things. Now, if his uncle, his own family member wants to come out, you know, when you lose a family member, you want justice. Whether it's street justice or criminal justice, you want some type of justice, right? Now, when you're involved in the lifestyle like SUCKAFREE was, when you're a gang member, when you're representing a barrio or a hood, you know, it's all about street justice. You can't call the cops. You can't be nowhere in an area where cops are at and communicate with them, you know, because that's gonna fuck up your character in the streets. People are gonna automatically assume you're working with the cops. You're doing too much. So in the gang lifestyle, it's always street justice, always get backs. And that's where the gang violence becomes redundant. It becomes too much, because what happens is in the line of fire, there's a lot of innocent civilians, man, that get caught up. And it's just back to back to back. You hit mines, I hit yours. You hit mines, I hit yours. I hit yours. You never hit mine because we ducked and dodged. It's a continual thing. It's a vicious cycle, you know, and then there becomes a situation where there's just too much blood spilled. There's too much dirt being done. And these two hoods that could have quite possibly somewhere down the line came to see eye to eye and have a conversation and maybe get along, That can never happen because there's too much blood spill, and people will always be upset because you took their homie or their family or their loved one away from them. And then all the other extras, you know, the civilians getting caught up in the line of fire, getting, you know, all this shit right here means something to somebody. Everybody has a family. Everyone has a homeboy. Everyone has a friend. Everyone has a heart, and everybody don't agree with everybody. You need to realize that and recognize that when you're a gang member. I know they tell you you're supposed to be cold-blooded and heartless, but hey, in certain situations, you need to have a heart. You need to recognize and realize what's going on around you. There's a perfect place and time for everything. Hey, and when you're gang banging, man, and there's innocent civilians and children and people around, that ain't the time, right? So anyways, I feel Sucker Free's uncle taking to social media, just like everyone else does nowadays. It's a social media game, right? And explaining basically what happened and why he feels it happened. Now, again, it's an active investigation. So what he said coming from his heart, you know, maybe he feels that he wants justice for his nephew, that his nephew deserves justice. And of course, when you're murdered, you're slain, everybody deserves justice. Now, it doesn't matter if he was picking the fight. It doesn't matter if he was talking the shit. It doesn't even matter if he was showing his location. The tragic part of the story is he's no longer with us. Okay? Now, in a situation like this, when someone comes out, a family member, and says, hey, this is what happened, that doesn't mean it's the truth. You know, we don't know exactly what happened. And I remember I had a homeboy, and trip out on this. This is how rumors get started. Started by the jealous. Look at, this is how rumors get started and can get someone clipped. So I had a homeboy, right? And what happened was his old lady got murdered, tragically, right? And one of her exes, who he didn't like, he felt this was the perfect opportunity to point the finger in his direction. First of all, he shouldn't have been pointing fucking fingers. That's why his fingers got broke later on. But he shouldn't have been pointing fingers or saying anything to anyone. If he knew, hey, this is the Vato who killed my old lady, this is the dude who did it beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know what's up, then he should have went and handled his business. Now, I know people are going to say, well, he did handle his business. He told the cops on him. Well, listen to the story, right? So what had happened was, when his lady was found dead, no one knew what happened. You know, no, she was found in her home. She was strangled, whatever. And unfortunate situation, you know, now he's stuck with his children. And maybe about 3 weeks prior, her baby's dad, who was ultimately the guy they accused for it, and he beat the case, but we'll get to that. He had got into it. You know, this is what happens when these women have several baby daddies that can't get along. You know, there's always going to be someone that's jealous. I go through the same shit. Baby daddy's jealous of me, right? Me not jealous necessarily. I could care less. You know, go ahead. You could have her. I've been, Stas had her, right? Take her. If you want to touch it, touch it. You know what I mean? I'm not worried. But there are people that get jealous. And, you know, he got into it. You know, my homeboy from my neighborhood, he got into it with the other baby's daddy, who was just there to fucking drop his kid off. And they got down, and he got his ass whooped. The homie got his ass whooped, and he should have just chalked it up to the, hey, she picks heavy hitters, right? But he was jealous. He was mad. He was upset. One, he was humiliated that her baby daddy whipped his ass. Two, he was humiliated that he did it in front of her, right? Three, you know, he was just mad at the dude because the dude had more swag and more money than him. It's just a fact. So what happened was, when this murder happened, immediately he went to the streets with it, and he started telling the homies, like, hey, bro, I know who did it. It was this fool. He was jealous of me. Like, he reversed it on him, right? He reversed it on him. And homies were pretty pissed, like, because that was the homegirl. Like, hey, man, fuck that, bro. We ain't gonna let that go. You gonna let that go? We can't let it go. You gonna let it go? No, you ain't gonna let it go. No, dog, right? So what he did, instead of handling his business and not letting it go, is he went to the officers, the cops, and came up with this big old story of how he seen this guy creeping. He knew that they were sleeping together, just making up story after story after story. And the cops went and arrested that guy. And that guy was in the county jail, and he got removed. He was an active northerner. He got removed off the block because the homegirl, you know, was a good homegirl. She had a lot of good family, solid family that were somebody's, right? Remember, everyone has family. And he ends up getting removed. He didn't get his due process. They weren't trying to hear his fucking story, when meanwhile, the whole time this dude was innocent. And the homie who was running around town, wow, damn, I didn't even know it was him, bro. He's the one that went and told the cops it was him. Come to find out, a few months later, guess what happened? Who do you think got arrested for it? The homie. The same homie that was playing the blame game, talking about, hey, it was this dude and it was that dude, and he ended up getting locked up for it. He was the jealous one. He ended up strangling his own old lady and doing all that and making a big old issue over it. Now, they were already looking at him as a suspect, but he didn't know. He doesn't watch movies, I guess. He's stupid, right? And when they got him, man, he ended up getting removed. So the other dude had no get backs, fucked his career up, took him away from his other children, his job, you know, his home, his wife that he was now married to, all because the other dude was jealous. So that day I learned a lesson about the blame game, a lesson that if someone says something in an active investigation, doesn't necessarily make it true. I don't care if it's his uncle, his aunt, his fucking chiruhu lover, his brother. None of that matters to me because, you know, at the end of the day, we never know the full story in things. We never will. You know, whether it was an argument and his own homeboys took his life, well, when they arrest whoever they arrest them, right? And they're going to have to deal with the consequences of their action, which, of course, is throwing lives away because now they're going to be doing life in prison and their homeboys no longer here to rap about it or to spray paint about it. It's fucked up. It's an unfortunate situation. The popularity of this guy is growing hourly, minutely. People are all talking about him because they can't believe it happened. I can. Like I said in my first video, when you're living the lifestyle, when you're gangbanging, when you're involved, it's not a matter of who or why, it's a matter of when. Okay? If you're smart enough to get out of that situation or grow up out of a situation, and again, I'm not spreading poison and telling you stop gangbanging, turn your back on your body or drop out. None of that. You do what the fuck is in your best interest and what you feel is good for you. Me, on the other hand, I chose to walk away from drama. I chose to walk away from something that was leading me down a worse and a crazy destructive path as I had already been led down. You know, I just chose to say stop in the middle of the path and say, I'm going to go back that way, right? Because everything forward was causing more and more hectic issues for my family, for my friends, for my loved ones, and for the homeboys that I thought they were homies. Now, let's spin this. If SUCKAFREE's uncle is telling the truth, okay? If he has some inside knowledge that you can't get in college, if he knows who did this, you know, and has chosen the route to alert law enforcement, you know, because basically if you go on YouTube, if you go on social media, speaking on it, you've already alerted the authorities. They're watching, right? 100% they're watching, and they're just waiting. They're waiting to catch someone. You know, they're not going to get no stone is going to be left unturned. They're going to figure out who did this and why. And if you're sitting there on social media saying, hey, it was these guys, it was his own homies, well, now they're going to focus on his own homies, and that can only lead to things like RICOs. That could lead to other people that were not even involved getting busted because they're going to do raids looking for these guys from the neighborhood. You know, it's a lot of things going on. Now, like I said, coming from a family member, that's expected. I understand it. He wants justice. He's feeling some type of way. But never take to social media helping the cops with their investigation. Now, if it's like the homie's missing or we haven't seen him for 3 or 4 days, I can see a plea out for help. Has anyone seen him? Where is he? He was on Scante last time I seen him. It was him, lefty gunplay, no seatbelt, Scante. I understand that, right? But if it's a situation where he was tragically murdered and it's like, hey, man, I see a lot of people talking about it. It was his own homies from his hood, man. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Now, I wanted to express to you guys this. And I talked to Dubs just a little while ago, and I was telling him I was going to do this video, basically part 2 to part 1 that I did earlier, right? And I want to talk about loyalty. It's a big word in the gang life, in life period. Loyalty, respect, right? They go hand in hand. And you got a lot of dudes that run around, man, I'm loyal from the soil. Man, my loyalty's strong. My loyalty is strong with the homies. I'll die for the homies. I'll ride for the homies. You know, that's one of the reasons you get jumped into a body or a hood or a gang, period. You know, people always wonder, why do you get jumped into a gang? Well, and I'm not all over the place. It's going to all make sense. The reason you get jumped into a hood is because if you take one by your homies, then you'll take one for your homies. You know, you're showing just how down and how dedicated you are to your people. Okay, so basically that's the old saying: if you take one by them, you'll take one for them. That's pretty much why people get jumped into a neighborhood. It's not to prove you're down, because I remember jumping people into our neighborhood. You already had to be down until you got to that point. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to jump him and we're going to beat the fuck out of him and kick him in the face and all this. That means he's down. No, you got to be down kicking it, period, bro. You already put in your work and kicked it, period, to even get to this point. That's real gangster shit. That's how it was done. You know, I see all these new things. Hey, on the internet, you want to jump in? All right, you got to type these letters. Type FTP. What does that mean? That means fuck tu, puto, right? Not fuck you, but fuck tu. So look, here's my thing, right? Here's the cold twist in the situation. The word loyalty means something. Isn't it funny that most of the time you hear about these tragedies, these killings, these murders within the gang lifestyle, it's usually someone who did it that looks just like you. You know, always these people talk about my neighborhood, man, I'll die for the homies. I'm going to ride with them, but they're the same ones fucking you off. If you do something against the grain, any little thing that your body or your hood or your gang or your group doesn't agree with, then you're a piece of shit, man. And it's going to be your own people that fuck you off. Your own people that mess up your career. Your own people that get you caught up. Your own people that tell on you. Your own people that will murder you. You know, all because you're making the barrio look bad. Or they argued with you over a chick or money or whatever it is. But all that friendship and loyalty, that goes out the window if you fucking got a mamon from the homeboy's old lady while he was locked up and he told her, hey, go be free, be free. And then she went with your homeboy. And now you're all mad. Hey, you should have known better, homie. She should have known better too. Guess what? But he didn't. So now you'll fuck his career off and kill him. Your own homeboy who you were loyal to, right? I notice it all the time, man. The same people doing their people dirty are the people that look just like them. So if this is the case, if this is what happened to Sucker Free 104, if he was killed by his friends, man, by his own homeboys, that's a tragedy in itself, but it's nothing new. It's something I'm used to, you know. It's crazy because I would look at this metaphor, look at this shit, right? A homie would be like, hey, man, what happened in prison? You fell off and shit? You're making the fucking water look bad, eh? You're making the homies look bad and shit. You're making our city look bad. Meanwhile, there's a homeboy smoking a focal, smoking skunk in the corner, jacking off for 3 hours straight, right? He's not making the hood look bad, though. He's doing his thing. He's acting. He's getting this, right? There's another homeboy over there fucking watching Pornhub, all fucking maniaco, rubbing his underarm pit and shit, right? Nah, he's not making the hood look bad. No, not him. He's cool. There's other homeboys doing beer runs and shit, fucking falling all over the place, face all scraped up, walking all chueco, but they're not making the hood look bad. They're cool. Or the homies that are spray painting in their neighborhood, fucking egging people's houses, pissing on their concrete, right? They're not making the hood look bad. But because a homeboy decided to change his life, because he decided to say, you know what, hey, I got a lot of kids, bro. I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to start gangbanging on, you know, I'm just going to focus on that. You're making the water look bad, Holmes. You're making us fucking look bad, eh? You know what I mean? We're going to kill you now, right? This is the mentality. This is really what it's come down to. This is what it is. Now, I respect some real gangster shit. I always have and I always will, regardless if I'm involved at that level or not. I still respect it because I've seen real ones. I've been around with real ones. I've had conversations with real ones. Real ones have had conversations with this real one. So we've all real one'd it out, right? But I used to always hate that. You know, I used to have homeboys. Hey, man, why you still fucking with that fool? He's a DO or something. So I grew up with that motherfucker. I know him, bro. I'm not going to fucking jump on him just because some dudes from fucking some city, I don't even know where it's at, dropped him lev on YA or fucked his career off. Like, nah, I don't care about none of that. It's my homeboy, bro. You know, yeah, homie, but he's making the water look bad. Yeah, what about your brother? I heard he was over there caught on 16th Street giving a fucking another dude a mamon. Is he making the water look bad? Well, boys, he ain't even from the barrio. Yeah, but he lives here. Should we just kick him out? Right? You know, there's just different situations. Anyway, getting back to Sucker Free 104, man, and I'm just spitting some real knowledge you can't get in college, some of that game, right? And people that are watching this are like, yup, Gun's 100% right, speaking facts. Think about it. People are losing their lives. The end. No mas, Duran moment, right? Tank, knee. People are losing their careers or losing their hood credibility or their hood pass or whatever, all by their own neighborhood, all by their own people. Their own people's killing their situation, killing their vibe, and killing them ultimately. If this is the case, if Sucker Free's uncle put out some real facts, man, and this is what happened to his nephew, wow, you know, didn't see that one coming, but it came. You know, and it could be something as simple as an argument. And, you know, a lot of people, and especially these bigger hoods like LENNOX and hoods down south and Northern California, like in San Jose, Salas, big neighborhoods, Oakland, San Francisco, Mission District, just because you're in the hood doesn't mean you're cool with all of your homeboys from the hood. I had a lot of homeboys from my neighborhood that I didn't fuck with, didn't like, wasn't even happy that we wore the same color, right? Just didn't like them. You know, that was one of the reasons why I never had a baby mama out of my hometown, because I didn't want her to be touched by one of my despicable ass homeboys that I didn't like. Ultimately, they all did later on. You know, I should never took them there. But what I'm saying is, it just is what it is. And, you know, that's the news that's out there right now, man. Put out there by Sucker Free 104's uncle, is that his own homeboys are the ones who murdered him. Again, like I said, I'm not here to help law enforcement in any capacity. It's an ongoing investigation. I don't know who did it or if that's even the case, or if his uncle has an agenda to blame his homeboys or just don't give a fuck, right? I guess he wants to see justice one way or the other. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Was I pura here 100 or was I just talking gibberish? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's the betterment of all people. Gracias, man. I appreciate it. The gun.